Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vere and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, the Legislative Assembly of Tonga welcomes a high-level delegation from China. The Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Isaac Eke, officially opens a regional training program for auditors. And a couple from Golonga remanded in police custody for possession of illicit drugs. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports, world and the weather information later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. It's vital to take note of the developments in the tourism sector and also the country's economy. This is one of the topics discussed by the members of Parliament and a high-level delegation from China on their visit to Tonga. They were welcomed by the Legislative Assembly of Tonga. While in Nuku'alofa, they also held an audience with His Majesty King Dubotha VI. Here's Sini Latu with more on that story.
The high-level delegation of about 10 officials were welcomed in Tonga's Parliament by the Speaker of the House, Lord Fafanua, and the members of the House. Leading the high-level delegation from China is the Vice Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference National Committee, Wang Jiarui, who is also the Minister of the International Department of the Communist Party. Also included in the Chinese delegation is Tonga's Ambassador to China, His Excellency Siamilie Latu. During their visit, a special luncheon program was held at Waterfront and hosted by the Speaker of the House. The visit from the Chinese delegation is based on an invitation by the Speaker, Lord Fafanua, during one of his visits to China in 2012 with other officials. The visit fulfills the promise made by Jiarui to the Speaker of the House. Attending the luncheon program was the Honourable Prime Minister, Lord Divakano, Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Sami Vaipulu, and members of Parliament. The Speaker of the House, in his welcoming speech, commended previous assistance from China.
On the 4th of October 2013, we held a handover ceremony with the former ambassador, Mr. Huang Donghua. The consignment of furniture that you and the International Department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China donated to the Legislative Assembly. It was a very special and happy occasion for the members of Parliament, including the staff. We were very humbled by the donation of office furniture and electronic equipment, and so far it has allowed the staff to work more efficiently to increase the quality of operating our Parliament.
He later presented a gift to Mr. Wang Jiarui to show appreciation on the goodwill visit from the Chinese delegation. The Vice Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference National Committee showed the same gesture. In a remark from the leader of the Chinese delegation, he emphasized why they are here in Tonga and was relayed by a translator.
But we know what we should do. We know we should do to do our best to promote the friendly cooperation between our two countries, enhance high-level exchanges of visits, promote economic and trade cooperation projects so as to deliver more tangible benefits to the people of Tonga. We know what we should do here. We bring here the sincere friendship of the people of China. We know such a day of the better life for the people will come because we have the sincerity, we are willing to develop our cooperation.
In a speech from the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, he mentioned one of the subjects raised during their meeting in Parliament.
As mentioned today in Parliament, the members of Parliament noted the need for tourism to be developed and for our economy to be developed at the same time. And this government have prioritized the development of infrastructure in which your government and the people of China have helped us a lot.
Tongan traditional dances and items were held during the luncheon program to host the delegation from China. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sini Latu.
The Ministry of Justice does not have the authority to investigate into the affairs of magistrate court staff members. Therefore, the Justice Ministry has submitted a proposal to the Public Service Commission to authorise the police to do so. or to lodge a complaint against an officer from the Magistrate Court in regards to a missing passport with the Magistrate Court. The passport belongs to an Asian man. This was revealed by the Honourable Minister of Justice, Clive Edwards, in an exclusive interview with Television Tonga News. Here's Fatai Whainga'a with the details.
Although the Magistrate Court operates under the Ministry of Justice, its daily operations and services are managed by an authorised panel. This panel is chaired by the Lord Chancellor Harry Walkins, Chief Justice Michael Scott, the Attorney General Neil Edzett, and the Law Lords. The Magistrate Court's wages and staff remain under the authority of the Ministry of Justice. According to the Honourable Minister of Justice Clive Edwards, the allegations made against a displaced passport are true. A passport belonging to an Asian man was submitted to court last July. The owner was questioned over the use of fraud of a Tongan passport. The Asian man was accused along with two others who are in jail over attempts to insert an Asian name into a blank Tongan passport. The two accused are Otto Tuitupo and Sofia Laukau, who were imprisoned last week. In January this year, the Asian man was due to appear in court, but he did not show up. The passport was confiscated because the passport holder had to be questioned over allegations of fraud for a Tongan passport. When he was summoned to appear in court, he did not show up. When they looked for his passport and couldn't find it, that's when they found out it was missing from court. It's also understood that the Supreme Court is independent of this case, while the Ministry of Justice is currently arranging all legal procedures. The problem we face is that we cannot interfere with the court's operation. However, our recommendations will then be submitted to the PSC to carry out an investigation on who is responsible for the missing passport. The Justice Minister also says a similar issue was also raised in Parliament, in which he believes is inappropriate with the Parliament's agendas and deliberations. In regards to all comments made in Parliament, the MPs have absolute privilege and cannot be taken to court whether the issue is true or not. If we need an answer regarding any allegations, it takes time to get it. There is something called dual process of law, and it needs to be upheld. Everything needs to be done according to proper procedure, where all complaints should be submitted to the police for them to carry out their duties, as that is the only alternative of solving any problem. But if the passport is lost, the passport holder has a right to his possession. But it is always important to follow the right legal procedures to ensure that everything is balanced. That's the Honourable Minister of Justice, Clive Edwards.
Focus is made on the importance of auditing foreign funding in the region to ensure the money is used accordingly. This has stemmed a one-week training for regional auditors that was officially opened by the Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Isaac Eke, this morning. Fononga Veikosa was there and filed this report.
Speaking from Scenic Hotel at Whaamotu, the Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Isaac Eke, spoke about the goals of the workshop.
The key objective of this cooperative approach are to conduct a financial audit according to international standards of supreme audit institutions. Also, to support effective capacity development of public sector financial auditors. Obtain high-quality trainings and expertise during the joint meetings, and also encourage an uniformly high-standard methodology. As you all know, and particularly for the Member of Parliament, financial statements are very critical document prepared by the government for the purpose of communicating to all stakeholders, including taxpayers, donors in particular, donors as well, to inform them how the government uses the public funds.
Dr. Eke stressed that auditors must improve their performances to ensure that all funding towards the developing countries are used justly.
Many donor partners that provide donor funds for projects are intended to promote sustainable development for our countries.
He also spoke of the role of auditors in the region.
Therefore, public sector auditors have a critical role to play in ensuring that the financial statement provides assurance that the donor funds and also public funds have been used according to the purpose and also for the legal requirements. There's a great need, of course, I think we all know, in our regions, to strengthen the capacity and capability of the National Audit Office to carry out its role effectively, efficiently, and also in a timely manner. This strengthening required a renewed commitment by our respective governments to increase financial investment in their office. Here in Tonga, I would like to say, we are prepared to assist our Tonga Audit Office in the next budget cycle for this very purpose.
The workshop is attended by senior officers from 6 islands in the Pacific region, which includes the Cook Islands, Tuvalu, Marshall Islands, Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga. This is the first time for such a training to be held here in Tonga. The training is hosted by an expert from the International Audit Office in Norway. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fonovi Koso.
Today, the Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Lord Fafanua, has announced the names of successful applicants for the first ever practice parliament for women in Tonga. This is planned for the 10th and the 11th of April. The practice parliament has a total of 30 seats, which includes 9 nobles representatives, 17 people's representatives from all the constituencies, 2 seats reserved for youth and disability, and 2 members nominated by the Prime Minister as stated by the Constitution. Linda Filiai has more on that story.
Information from Parliament's office says the Practice Parliament for Women aims to encourage the active participation of women in politics. The two-day event is to increase women's awareness on the importance of their roles in participatory democratic system after political reform implemented in 2010. It also strives to inspire and increase the confidence of women to run as candidates to become future leaders and key decision makers in Tonga. Participating in this program are representatives from Tongatapu and other islands. It begins with an orientation program on the 7th of April. This is to train and familiarize participants with the protocol and works of parliaments, briefing from Tonga Electoral Commission on what candidates are eligible to do, among others. Names of those who will be participating in the practice parliament are former women MPs, including the former Minister of Information and Communication, Lady Eseta Fustua, Pablo Promfield Foliaki, and Lepolo Taunisila. Participating in this practice parliament are women leaders from governments and others.
A couple from Golonga have been remanded in police custody. They're alleged of possession of illicit drugs during a police raid in their home yesterday. They first appeared in the magistrate court yesterday and were directed by the magistrate, Manaka Alfusi, to remain in police custody until they reappear in court tomorrow morning. Anasiu Falekaono tells you more.
The acting superintendent of the Nuku'alofa Police Station, Inspector David Fifita, also confirmed to Television Tonga News that they are holding a 55-year-old Katoni Johansson and his wife, 25-year-old Lovely Johansson, in police custody. He says they are found in possession of a type of drug that is rarely found in Tonga. Police were given a search warrant from court to raid a house in Golonga. Police arrested the couple along with the illicit drugs. The confiscated drugs were 10.92 inches. They are due to reappear in court tomorrow. The police also seized other items from the house. Charges against the accused have yet to be confirmed. It is also very clear that these illicit drugs were imported or smuggled in from abroad. Meanwhile, the police are still investigating on the matter. Also speaking to Radio and Television Tonga News, the acting superintendent of the Nuku'alofa Police Station, Inspector David Fifita, urges the importance for the public to collaborate in order to minimize such crimes happening in the kingdom. From the Nuku'alofa Police Station, I'm Anasiu Falekano for Radio and Television Tonga News.
It's been more than a month, or almost a month, since the Quarantine Division confiscated a container of meat products and other items. The Quarantine Division believes the products are harmful to the environment. The owner of the container says he's planning to return the container back to where it was sent from. Here's Fatai Whainga'a with that report.
Speaking to Television Tonga News, the owner of the container is an Asian man. He said the container of various meat was for food for his fishermen and not for commercial purposes. He adds that he's seeking advice from his legal counsel before revealing any more details. He also stated that more details will be released after talking to his lawyer. The container of meat has had almost 60% of items confiscated by the quarantine division, and it's still with the division up until now. The frozen meat includes chicken, beef and duck meat, amongst others. Television Tonga News contacted the head of quarantine department, Dr. William Mikami, who says towards the end of this week or early next week, the container will be sent out of the country. The customs and quarantine divisions are working together on the paperwork to send their container back where it came from. Dr. Kami says it's still unknown where the container originally came from, and that is what is slowing down their work. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
A more consistent supply of water is expected for the village of Nukuhetulu in the Eastern District with the donation of a new water pump machine. The generous donation from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints helped address the problem of inconsistent water supply the villages have been facing in past years. Salamo Fulivai was there and filed this report.
The new water pump machine is worth more than 10,000 ba'anga. The assistance is made based on a request from the Nukuhetulu village. Officer in charge of Nukuhetulu's water supply, Sione Whakahau, told Radio and Television Tonga News that the village has been facing problems with inconsistent water supply since 2009. We are grateful that this problem has now been resolved. The inconsistent water supply caused a lot of challenges. It was difficult for students to get ready in time for school. It affected our cooking, cleaning, and even the toilets, which could not be flushed. Meanwhile, Elder Webb of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says similar assistance has also been donated to other villages.
Well, we feel very blessed to be able to be here to help these good people of Nukuhetulu. They've worked a long time to try to get this approved. And these processes to get a project in a village are not easy. Sometimes it takes a lot of time and patience.
The assistance provided by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints aimed at improving the locals' water supply. Similar assistance has been presented to the villages of Hautu and Lavengatonga. From Nukuhetulu for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Salamo Fulivai.